Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. Well, I've had COVID for a while and it's affected my voice, so I've been having scratchy, coughy voice. I'm already starting to get a funny throat, but I'll probably have to drink some Gatorade, take stops to do that, just because I don't know why. It just keeps bothering me. It just gets really dry. But today, I'm doing, see, there you go. I'm doing my 10 worst movies of 2022.
And you started to get really mad, Safi. You started cursing and saying, I hate this fucking movie, this shitty fucking BGB. Like, you got really mad when you were doing your rankings.
Well, the problem
funny.
with the 2022 movies, now, I didn't see half as much. I saw half as much as Marco.
Yeah.
I saw 50% less.
Which I did have to force you to, I had to do it where, I watched like 9 movies at the end of the year. I made Safi watch like 9 movies as well. Or something.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just... Oh, for heaven's sake.
Safi's... I told you. See?
Anyway, we'll probably have to be going into the next room.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that.
Maybe we better go ahead and do that.
I told you this would happen, Safi. And it was really funny because, I had to watch like 2 movies yesterday, and Safi thought that I wasn't gonna do another. I was gonna watch another today, and do another video while she didn't have to do any video.
No, I never thought that at all.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Because you were mad. You're like, I don't want to do my ranking.
Okay.
And it's like, well, that means I have to watch another movie and do another review.
This close by.
Like, I don't want to watch that old people.
Where can I sit?
Sit in the computer chair.
Great.
Like, I don't want to watch that old people movie with Tom Hanks.
I don't either. I don't understand why he'd want to do that. Because if I were him, I would do these other movies that makes him younger.
He's like an old person, so...
He's my age.
Now you can just turn off your phone.
Well, I'll have to tell him.
You don't need... Oh, Safi. And so... It was really funny because Safi only had like 12 movies listed at first. And I thought, Safi, this is embarrassing. You're supposed to be a reviewer. You're supposed to have at least 20 movies because then you can do top 10 best and worst. And so it was pretty embarrassing that, after the whole year she only had a couple. And it felt like the year before she had plenty of movies easily. So it just shows how bad movies were last year, though. Like, they were terrible.
Just right behind me.
All around.
Okay. So anyway, like we said, I have a lot less movies, but I do have top 10 worst right now of 2020 movies. So 2022 movies, sorry.
And you have dishonorable mentions.
Yes, I will just go ahead and do the dishonorable mentions. So that means they're like 2 extra ones. They don't fit into 20. They're 21 and 22. So anyway, one of them is Uncharted.
Ugh.
And I never have played the game, but I have watched Marco play it many times. I was doing something else, and I noticed in it the background. This is just the background, and how exotic it would be. Change the colors. It always looked really cool. I did notice the action too. I did watch him somewhat. I watched the game, what it would be like. I don't care for those kinds of games, but actually it looked pretty good. But I wouldn't be able to do very well, so that's why I just never mind, But anyway, so I was aware of certain aspects of the game, and I could see why he enjoyed it. And then I saw the movie, and I noticed they didn't have anything like that. They didn't have, oh God, there we go. They didn't have the action, and also the background, the places they went. It didn't go with anything I had seen in the game. Sorry. And then another problem I had with it was, Spider-Man boy. When I would watch it, I just felt like I was watching Spider-Man. And I'm thinking and Marco told me that the character in the movie was he was like an older man, and he wasn't little Spider-Man, and he would do violent things, and I don't care for violence, but it is a video game, and it kind of, this guy's an older guy.
Safi, he has to. These people.
Well, yeah, they're trying to kill him, but he's like, he's like so different.
It's a treasure hunt.
Well, I don't know, but he's just so different, and he's like a real man. I feel uncomfortable saying that, but I'm not. It's not little Spider-Man, young Spider-Man. That's what I felt like when I was watching it, because all the things that he was doing was things that he does in his Spider-Man movies, and so I just thought, I just didn't like it. I just could tell it wasn't right, and it wasn't. I didn't care for it that much. So, because of what I knew and what I'd seen, that was the big marks against it, and also because he was too much like they just cast little Spider-Man in there. And I liked Tom. Is it Tom Holland? Whatever his name is, and
I bet you do.
I think he's a cute boy, but he doesn't belong in this part. They could have gotten, God, there's so many people they could have gotten to do this part. I'm thinking the guy that plays Jack Ryan, he could have done that. Anybody, all I do is give him a beard and make him look a little bit, wild and crazy.
Nathan Fillion.
And
Nathan Fillion made a fan film where he fully committed to the part, and he even cast the other character who Mark Wahlberg played, and the fan film was fantastic. If Safi saw it, she would agree. And even and they made this fan film like years ago, and even after having that fan film, Sony is such a stupid ass fucking studio that they chose to cast Tom Holland instead. And it was like what they did with the whole movie, though. Like, the whole movie is just, that decision should be obvious to like just somebody with a brain. But because we're Sony, we're not going to make that decision. We're going to make the opposite of that decision. And it's like this whole culture of like, the fans are wrong and we're right, even though we don't know what we're doing.
Okay, well, my other dishonorable mention is Thor, Love and Thunder. And I don't know what to say about this. It's not, I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's just the fact that it's too comic booky, and it's just not, you can't take anything in it seriously except for one kind of thread in it, and that is Natalie Portman, the character she gets cancer, and she's just not living the comic book hero life. She's a doctor and does research and works with patients, and so she gets cancer, and you just have this kind of little tiny pieces of where Thor, instead of loving himself and being this queer comic book hero, I just mean it in a way that it just gets old, because
it's all goofy. That's what you mean.
Yeah, you just can't take it seriously. And there's a little tiny bit of real acting from him, because he in real life he's a husband and a father. He's seems to have a very good family, and if his kids get sick, he's not gonna sit there and pound his chest and wait for a hatchet to come flying into his hands. He's gonna deal with it and be real concerned and worried, and so he showed that to Natalie Portman, and that was about the only real acting that I saw from him. The rest of it's just, and from everybody else, just comic book crap. And I just
Which she does not mean that the movie is faithful to the comics.
now, I don't know if it is or
it's
it
not,
isn't.
because it's not faithful in any way,
Okay.
shape, or form.
Well,
so
see, I don't know that. I've never read a Thor comic
she
book.
just means that it's goofy.
It's just you can't take any of it seriously. And the only thing that's serious is, like I said, Natalie Portman's part, and that she gets cancer, and he actually shows, it's like he stops his comic book persona and becomes a person and thinks about, oh my God, you could die. Really, so that's the only good thing about it. And that's very small, but the rest of it's just too much of a comic book movie. I'm just not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to watch a comic book movie, and I just rather watch something that's more meaningful. Okay, now those were my dishonorable mentions. Now on number 10, I put the Snow Day, and we're calling it Snow Day 2022, and that's this little musical that they made out of the movie Snow Day. And they changed some major things, like, well, of course, the casting has to be different because it was made so long ago. All the kids are all grown up, but like the snowplow man, and he instead of having a real animal, he has a robot, which is almost like an AI. Is it AI animal? And because it responds to everything that he says. And so anyway, the problem I have with this movie was that it's not a bad movie in terms of children. It's just for children. It's like something you see on a Disney show. Sorry, or Nickelodeon or something. It's just a kids show. And the other Snow Day, the movie, it had a lot of good characters they did not have in this one. They kind of altered it. The parents were both doing remote work at home because of COVID. So that's probably that. I don't know if they said that or not.
No, they weren't. They were doing it because of the snow day.
Well, I know that, but they were used to doing that. A lot of people had never done remote work until COVID. They didn't allow them to do it. So anyway, that doesn't matter. That's just BS. But it was a nice little musical. The little girl, the girlfriend, and
Why are you
sister
complimenting it?
were
You
they
hated
were really
this
good
movie.
at dancing and
Safi,
singing. The rest of the people
You
were,
hated it.
and the boy, the brother. But the thing is, Marco's giving me a problem. I didn't like it because it was too childish. I just didn't care for it at all, and I'd rather watch the movie. I thought the movie was a lot more appealing to everybody, and I thought this was very childish, and I don't even know why they made it.
Because the whole movie, you were like raging against it. You were insulting all the actors. You were saying that the brother, he hasn't even got through puberty yet.
Well, that's what I said. And the actors are so much younger. And
you said the
childish.
sister was annoying. You said,
well, she has a horrible voice.
Ew, we're going to have to listen to her voice the whole movie?
She had a terrible, like, here I am, I've been recovering from COVID, and, I mean, just being sick, and you have to hear this voice, and it's really awful, and I didn't care for it. I don't know if they thought that was real cutesy and fit in with the movie or not. And anyway, I just, if you want to see this with your children, I don't know if they'd like it or not, frankly. Maybe. I don't know. But it's very childish. I didn't care for it. I thought it was for children. I didn't like it. Okay. Number 9 is Babylon. Oh my Lord. This movie was very upset because, I do well, I haven't lately, but I have done a lot of genealogy. When you do genealogy, you work with, everybody's dead. Every single person you're researching is dead. And Babylon is about the silent film industry, stars, and then you get some personal people in there, their lives, and transitioning into the regular motion pictures movies. And then you talk about the African Americans, that Al Jolson and the trumpet playing. And anyway, the problem with this movie is too damn long. Marco said the person who made this made La La Land. And of course, that movie, I think I got an Oscar or two. I don't know. And I didn't see it because it didn't sound like something I wanted to see. So I just didn't see it. But he was so full of himself, and they were full of him too, that they gave him a lot of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars, to make this movie, and he got carried away, and for some reason he thought he didn't need to edit himself. And any kind of anything that you do, cooking, designing clothing, anything you do, you have to edit what you do, because if you put everything in it but the kitchen sink, the real good parts of it, the meaningful parts, they get lost, they get diluted, and that is unfair to the people, like the actors in the movie, and everything else. Now I'll just say what was good. What I liked about was like the last 45 to 30 minutes of it, which is really good. But I think you kind of have to what would you call it, fast forward through it to see some of the people, because they're featured in this last 30 to 45 minutes, so you wouldn't know who they were unless maybe...
Yeah, Tobey Maguire kind of saves the movie. He comes in...
Yeah, he has this one part.
Yeah. Comes
in near the end, so he's really... So this is the only time... So you could just... If you were just watching for him... He isn't in it any other time. They talk about him, I think, but in a general sense, but they don't name him, his character in particular, I don't think. But that doesn't matter. He's not in it until, like I said, the last 30 to 45 minutes. And then, I'm going to tell you something. Margot Robbie, I'm sorry, but she's way overrated. She did what you would do. She's really good at. She cried and she danced around and she fell apart, and she had a gambling addiction, and she puked, which was disgusting.
Yeah, there's this one scene that, a lot of idiots have looked at, and they've said that it's a really empowering scene because she's making a fool of herself at this party.
It's not empowering to see somebody make a fool out of themselves.
And it's so like cringeworthy, the scene, because you could just tell that they meant it to be some stupid feminazi empowerment scene when it wasn't. And just because the people at the party are shitty, that doesn't mean that it's an appropriate response to start like throwing up all over, like pigging out on all the food, and just acting like a animal. I mean, she acted like a weirdo.
Well,
like she's mentally ill.
There was a time in Hollywood where if you acted like that, they'd send you to the mental place and you get a lobotomy. So, I just don't think...
I almost kind of wish that they did that, because then she'd shut up.
Nah.
And we wouldn't have to see more of her bad acting.
I don't like that. I don't want to see that, but she's overrated. And they could have cut a lot of that out, because it really focused a lot on her, and I don't know why. Because she can't act. Sorry, but she can't act. And then you had Brad Pitt, and didn't even recognize him because he had dyed his hair black, and but he did an excellent job. And it's just tragic because I thought about these silent film stars, and it would be good to have a really good film story about some of these people in particular who they talk about, and their adjustment or non-adjustment to real live action motion pictures, whatever, from silent to that. And that would be a good movie, but this wasn't a good movie because the person doesn't know how to edit himself. And I feel like he should be whipped at the stake for making this, because I've heard it's not very popular. People aren't going to see it. Why? Because they don't want to sit there for over 3 hours watching a crappy movie that should have been edited. You're just full of yourself. You make this kind of movie, and you're doing a disservice to these silent film stars. I mean, they served their purpose, and they tried to adjust. Maybe some of them didn't want to adjust. Maybe some of them couldn't adjust.
And I will say, to be fair, Safi, they made some 3-hour pieces of crap back then. And in fact, 2 out of the movies that I watched for old movies were both 3-hour long silent movies.
Oh, well, yeah. So, whatever. I haven't watched a lot of silent movies, so I'm trying to think. I think I've seen Nosferatu.
And that was like an hour.
And that, yeah. And anyway, another thing I wanted to say about the movie, where they talk about and I don't think I've heard anybody do, and maybe they have, and I just don't know about, but the thing with Al Jolson, which was the blackface and all that stuff. When I was a kid, I told Marco that every Sunday in the morning, because I didn't really go to church after a certain point, because my parents were very tired. They were accountants. They were working all the time, so they didn't want to go to church. They didn't want to get up. It was the only day of the week to, quote, rest. The rest of the time, they were really busy. And so we stayed home. And so anyway, they had either Tarzan movies, Al Jolson movies, what was it? Ma and Pa Kettle and Shirley Temple were like the big movies they'd have on Sunday, and I think they have like 2 of them every Sunday morning. And I watched a ton of Al Jolson movies, and I just didn't think anything. And don't ask me why I did, but I just did. Anyway, so they kind of got into that, but the thing is, the main thing they got into was the trumpet playing. And I read, because I wanted to know who were the trumpet players. They had 3. They alternated between 3, and they were actually playing. And it really, God, it was so good. And I'm not really into that kind of music, but it was really spectacular. I really enjoyed it. So that's a good part of the movie. But like I said, there's just so much in the movie. It should have been edited. So basically, now people who would be able to see that, they can get to see it. Because I don't want to see it, because there's just too much movie. And then there was the Mexican, producer, I guess. And he was really good. And so those are the best parts. And then, but the movie was too much. It's too much movie, so I'm going to go on. Okay, my next movie would be 8, and that would be Terrifier 2. Now, I am not one for a lot of violence, and I've complained about it, but I know that sometimes if you have the violence in the movie, that it kind of fits with the kind of movie it is, like, let's say, a horror movie. And so it doesn't really... It kind of bothers me because I just don't care for violence. But Terrifier 2 is like over the top. It's another movie. It's with I put them together with Babylon because they're both movies that needed to be edited. And this Terrifier 2, Marco said that the person who made it was a primo at special effects. Okay, that's nice. So he wants to show off his talents in Terrifier 2. And so he was just all over the place in this movie, showing off how he could have people get ripped apart to shreds and having their parts of them eaten, and it's just gross. And they used a head. It was Halloween, and he used a head that somebody he just killed, and put the treats in the head.
That was one of the only things that I liked about the movie, actually.
Well, it was just, I mean, it's so over the top. And he used it as like a treat basket, like when people come to the door and they trick or treat, and somebody brings out the basket and it's full of treats. Well, that was, and they thought it was just, like a toy. They didn't realize that was really somebody's head. Although there's something in the basket, gross stuff, because it wasn't really, okay, it's just gross, just to even talk about it. But some kids were going, "Ooh, Mom, this is kind of gross." Yeah, well, gee, I wonder why.
But the main thing for you was that it was too long.
It was long.
Not edited.
It was too, there's not, it needed editing. It's
also...
another thing. And the guy, what he did was, there were tons of plot holes, and,
well, you didn't like the main girl. You didn't like how she had this costume.
I couldn't stand
with
the wings. Just their little wings, and she's flipping, flopping around with the wings, and they just kind of irritated me. It was irritating to watch her with these wings, and I was glad that she and her brother survived. I know Marco has a problem with it because, it's like they have this thing, they call it the final girl, and so she fit the final girl profile, so he already knew that she'd probably be the one who survived. Well, I was glad that her brother survived. I'm sorry, because he was a really good actor.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit better for me if it went. He spent so much of the movie copying other movies that he likes, like Halloween 4, Halloween 6, and it felt to me like I liked the friend, who gets killed. Her mom gets killed too. Yeah. And so it would have been better for me if, like, maybe the main sister gets killed and then the brother teams up with the friend. Like, that would have been better for me. But the movie just felt so expected, everything about it. And so making it like a 3-hour movie practically made it even worse. That you're sitting there watching cliche for 3 hours long.
Yeah. And yeah, you're really good at making your special effects, but you have to worry about the rest of the movie as well. That's storyline, acting. Oh, God, I got a real bad tickle. Okay, I got to keep going. Okay. Number 7 is Queen of Hearts, which is really a Twin Peaks fan film. It just wasn't.
It's so funny because the same thing happened when you actually watch the movie where, it was supposed to be you commentating over the movie, and it ended up being me doing your job for you because you kept on getting up to go take a vacation to the bathroom because you were sick. And so why didn't you like this movie, Safi? Because
I thought it was too long, and but I want to see the real Twin Peaks. I don't want to see a fan film. And I just keep thinking how selfish David Lynch has been about even over the last month or so. There's been people who've been in the movie, actors, they've died. Everybody's dying. And he's so selfish. He couldn't do another Twin Peaks movie or something, because they're really good, and I know these people kind of tried, but I saw 2 fan films. Sorry, with all these movies, and this wasn't as good as the other one. It's not made by the same people, but it just was. I just didn't like some of the actors, and I didn't care for it. I don't know what else to say, but I appreciate the effort, because they want to see a Twin Peaks movie too.
Yeah, he's picking up the slack.
That's right, and so I appreciate the effort, and I admire the effort. I understand the effort because they want to see a Twin Peaks movie too. So they're so sick of waiting to see one. They made one. Okay. All right, my next one is number 6. It's Batman. Oh, boy.
It's the Batman.
Oh, okay. This movie, again, it really pissed me off, and I didn't want to like it, and I didn't like it when I heard about it before I even saw it, because of the actor they put in it. They put in Mr. Morose.
Twilight Boy.
Yeah. And I loved him in Harry Potter because he was very bright and happy and friendly and caring and smart.
Of course, did you like him in The Lighthouse, too? Because I can't remember if you did or not.
I thought that was okay. That movie was...
He's just not a great actor.
No.
Honestly.
No, he's not. But he was really good in the Harry Potter movie. I think it was The Goblet of Fire, maybe. Sorry, I've just got this tickle in my throat.
No, it was called The Fire of the Goblin.
No. I've read all the books and seen all the movies. Marco keeps forgetting that. So anyway, I thought he was horrible. And he hardly talked. And also... they made some of the movie, you couldn't see it. It not only was it all dark all the time, but also they did something like, it was like it was bad reception or something, and it was, the screen was squiggly. And Marco said they did it on purpose or something. I don't know. I didn't care for that at all, and I hope they never do it again, anywhere, by anybody. Because it doesn't do a thing for the movie. I think the Outer Limits show, the old one, they had something like that at the beginning for like 2 seconds to introduce the show. Well, that's okay. But this is for the whole, like during the movie. And like, Marco, is there something wrong with the movie? Or is there something wrong with the screen?
I was like, no, have fun the next 3 hours.
And it's too long, but basically the guy's wrong for the part. And I said, they're not going to make another movie with him in it, right? No, I guess they are. Why? He's terrible. I don't want him in there. He's not good. I don't like him. He's terrible. He doesn't fit the part. I'm sorry. A Batman just isn't, and he's too young, and he appears too young, and I think Batman should be older, and I don't know. He doesn't have to be morose, and he didn't even talk. And what's the point? He didn't even have much of a speaking part.
He did cry a lot, though, like people complain about Tobey and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't care. All I did was he didn't even speak any lines. Why is that? Because he can't? Because he can't memorize it? Or he didn't want to make the effort? I mean, what's the deal? So please don't, don't even see this. It's just throw it in trash. This was say a lot of these movies, especially this top 10 worst, are trash. Total trash. I'm not gonna say Babylon's total trash, or that Snow Day thing is total trash, but some of those others, this Batman, starting with Batman, I mean, just trash. Okay, next one is number 5, and it's Halloween Ends. And if there wasn't so many god awful, horrible movies that I had put below it. This would probably be at the end, because this was crap. And Jamie Lee Curtis, they allowed her to kind of make the movie, direct the movie, orient the movie. I don't know what you want to call it. And
she executive produced it.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. And it became the Jamie Lee Curtis, let's do a journal movie or something. I don't know. I didn't like it. And there are a lot of things about it that was just awful, and it's just trash. And I hope they never make another Halloween movie again. They've completely...
Well, not this company.
Okay. I gotta keep going.
Because remember, they're just licensing the copyright. They don't own Halloween. So, as long as, somebody else makes it, then, maybe it will be good.
Okay, the next one is X. That's number 4. It's called X. Now, it's about... I don't think a lot of people saw this movie. I kind of doubt it.
Some people said it was a masterpiece.
No, it's not a masterpiece. But it's not as bad as what's below it. Okay? But anyway, I gotta blow my nose. Anyway, it's kind of reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw. It kind of reminded me of it. And this film crew, and I'm talking about a little film crew, a few people, they're all together, but it's boys and girls, men and women, whatever you want to call them. They're all together, kind of like it's, Texas Chainsaw, and they go to the country because they're going to make an X-rated movie. They have already booked this place in advance, and so they're expected to be there. And so anyway, they try to make this movie, and there's crazy people living there and who own the property, and they have a house nearby, and so a lot of people get murdered. But there was this one kind of shiny part where the girl who was in the movie, one of the young girls, she actually played part of the bad old woman too, and I thought that was really good. She did a good job. I mean, what a contrasting thing to do. And well, I have complained about this. I don't know if I did this in a video review or not, but where a person is playing 2 parts in the movie. I don't know if I agreed with that or not, but this is such kind of a low budget horror movie, but she did this. She played a part of a younger person versus a part of an older, messed up, crazy, insane woman. And she did a good job. I thought it was a really good... That's the only bright, shiny part about it. The rest of it was kind of trash, and but not as bad as what was below it. So that's what I'm going to do next. Number 3 is Scream, and it's just Scream. And it was the latest Scream version to come out.
And this was the movie last night where you started using the F word, and you started saying F this piece of effing you know what. Like, you were really upset about this movie.
It's just trash. I don't even know what to say about it because it was just such trash, and I didn't like it. It was horrible. And if you can believe this, there's things worse than that underneath it. So, I mean, that's saying something. But it was total trash. And I guess I know. The 2 female stars, they've been in all of them. I felt like that they didn't really want to be there. And then Dewey
got killed for no reason.
I didn't like that.
Oh, because of feminism. They wanted to only have strong women.
And I don't think girls liked it, if you want to know the truth. I could be wrong.
Well,
maybe they don't care.
You are, so you didn't like it.
No, I didn't because I always liked the character of Dewey.
Yeah.
I always thought he was a helpful, nice person. I got to keep going because my throat's really screwed. So number 2 is Morbius. This thing is just garbage, and there's nothing to say about it. That's good. And the thing about it was with this movie, I suggest to the people who made it, either have somebody else do it who can actually Pay attention to what they're doing.
Yeah, just read a Morbius comic book and then make a movie. Like, it's really simple.
Well, whatever.
It's not hard.
Throw this in the trash and start over from scratch.
And make it rated R.
And maybe read a few Morbius. I mean, that's the thing. When you write a good book or you or do a movie, sometimes the best things that come out are the ones that you're familiar with, and that you have some familiarity with the subject matter, and that gives you a really good start basis. And okay, the last one is my final one, number one.
Directed by the master of suspense.
Not
of
really.
The suspense of when is the movie going to come out?
This guy,
Chauncey.
we have watched him for years as a fellow YouTuber. And he is, Marco said he used to make these little fan,
They were not
favorite,
fan
fun
films.
movies, just for fun.
They were not for fun. They were
What were they? Oh, okay.
They were part of his channel.
They were just part of his channel. They are just little fun things he liked to do. Because, people who do YouTube have to constantly film, put out movies or videos. And that's it. And he did really well, actually. But ever since he, years later, after he lost a huge amount of weight,
and he moved to California.
He was in the East. He was at the East Coast, in Maryland or whatever. He moved to California, and he started making these movies. But of course, he gets on YouTube and he asks people for money. And I feel like I should get on and warn them and say, don't do it, because what you're going to get is no good. And he doesn't deliver. He says he's made like 11 or something, which is just asinine.
Only one of them has come out.
And
it's like, how long does it really take to edit a movie?
Well, this is called Amityville Karen, because he likes the word Amityville. So he's on these Amityville movies. But they're nothing to do with Amityville at all. Like the Amityville, the real movie about the people.
No, it's just using the name to try to get extra money.
Right. Well, basically. That's what I mean. To get more attention, which brings in more money. This is the worst piece of crap. And another thing, just a basic thing, was a sound issue. We couldn't hear it. They did something with the sound that diluted it or polluted it or stifled it or whatever, and you couldn't hear the movie. And it wasn't our problem, it was the movie's problem. So this is the worst piece of crap. And guy needs to quit asking people for money. People need to quit giving him money. He's a shyster. And he will keep asking for money. And people, you need to stop giving him money to make movies. He doesn't know how to do it, or he did, but I don't know if...
Not anymore.
I don't know if it's because he lives in California. He's surrounded by all these wannabes, acting wannabes, and he's kind of enamored by having these people around that he knows. And get over yourself, would you? Because you're not any good. You need to move on with your life and be something else.
Yeah, what was funny was that, there was this guy who bought, because I thought the movie was so bad, I put it up for sale the minute I finished watching it.
I think that's fine. Actually, somebody else wanted to see that.
And, well, the person, he had contributed money for the film, and he was supposed to have his name in the credits, and they misspelled his name, and they kind of sped through his little scene in the credits, and it's terrible. It's like you give money, and then they misspell your name in a movie. It's like they can't even handle doing that, like just the simplest thing. And so, like, he said he didn't even, like, watch the movie and he said that, like, truthfully, this guy, he goes around harassing people for money and private messages, just messaging people over and over and over again. Hey, you ain't give me money? I'll give you a discount. Hey, you ain't give me money? You ain't give me money?
Yeah, it just, don't even bother to watch this. Sorry, if you get a chance, because...
Yeah, don't support this guy at all.
No, because really, he's ripping you off.
Don't support his YouTube channel. Don't support his movies. Don't support anything he does.
No, he needs to move on with his life. I don't know what he's going to do, but needs to move on. He's comparable to somebody else who's really famous. I won't say his name, but he's a real carnival barker. He's beat at one of the... when you go to a carnival and you see these people with the games, and they try to get people to come over and play the game, and he's perfect one for that. And he's just a liar and a shyster. And I say a liar because this one came out, that's fine. But he's made all these others. There's this one called, the latest one is, what is it, Mistletoe, whatever.
Mistletoe Massacre. And it was so funny because I was really excited. It said that the movie was supposed to come out in December.
Because it's mistletoe, Christmas.
And it hasn't come out yet.
Hasn't come out yet.
I guess it'll be another year to wait for that.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
For a crap movie.
And I think just the thing is, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to get sued or something. And I feel like people need to...
It's the opinion, though.
I feel like people need to wake up and not give him any more money. So that's my advice to all of you.
We contributed money to him. So, we're saying personally from our experience, don't do it.
Well, whatever. So those are my top...
with the
10.
movie that I contributed to, I contributed based on an entirely false plot and a false title. And then after I contributed money and he finished the campaign, he completely changed the plot of the movie and the title. And it's like, this is, I don't know what to call that, Safi.
Yeah, well, so, anyway, these are my top 10 worst movies.
What was the worst scene of the year? Like, out of all the scenes. What's the worst scene?
Probably in that Terrifier 2. No, I don't know. I would think that Margot Robbie puking all over the place.
Oh.
That was so disgusting because she not only did it once, she did it twice. And it's so disgusting.
And she was like, "Why are you guys upset? I'm just acting like a real person."
And then the other thing that was in the
patriarchy.
movie, they had an elephant go to the bathroom all over these people.
Well, Safi, you liked that part.
No, I didn't like it. It was so gross.
It was so funny because Safi, she wanted to get food while she saw the movie.
Oh, God.
And I was like, Safi, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And then she watched it and she was like, oh. It was really funny.
But, if you want to watch this movie, and I know they would just love for somebody to go see this movie, you have to rent it when it comes out and fast forward through these parts until you get to the last, and so you get familiar with the characters and listen to the trumpet playing. It's just fantastic. And but watch the last 45 to 30 minutes because that's the best part of the movie.
Well, the ending was trash too, though. Remember that?
Yeah, but still,
that pretentious montage.
There was still, that was like over edited. It needed to be edited out. It should have been cut.
Yeah, I was like, how long is this going to go on?
Yeah, well, I was too. And so, anyway, those were the scenes that I thought it was really, I guess, in Babylon. And Terrifier 2 has some pretty revolting, disgusting violence. Because I don't care for it. And I know the guy was showing off. And so, since I knew that, I was like, really? Is that all you have? Which it wasn't, because it just got more gross. It got grosser and grosser and grosser, and the guy loves to gross people out, I guess. He must have, I can imagine he was a kid. He probably would do little things and gross people out, and now he's graduated with a PhD in grossology.
He'd pick his nose and then
I don't even
eat it in front of people. He'd like
knows?
pick up a worm and he'd lick it or something.
Yeah, I know. And it just, I imagine that's what he was like when he was a kid. And
hey,
he graduated his PhD.
You want to watch me lick the floor in the school hallway?
Yeah. Who knows? Hopefully he didn't kill any real animals or anything to play around with this, because I'm worried about him being a real serial killer, because that's kind of one of their descriptive the characteristics of being a serial killer is starting off with animals, because almost every one of them has. So anyway, that's it. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.